you are good to go.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, good evening, everyone. So happy that we're all here together tonight for the Prop S committee meeting. Mr. Watson is going to go ahead and get started, but I thought before we started, if we have just a moment for everyone to go around and say their name and who they are, I think that would be great for us all since we're in this space together. So I can go ahead and start, and then I'll just go around and kind of shout folks out since the order of everyone is different on our screen. So good evening. My name is Sadie Weiss. Again, I apologize for being late. I am a board member with the St. Louis Board of Education. Susan, do you want to go ahead? Susan Turk?
Hi, I'm Susan Turk. I am an alumni parent of the St. Louis Public Schools.
Great. Byron?
Byron Clemens with AFT St. Louis, the treasurer of Prop S campaign.
Angie?
Good evening, Angie Banks. I am the Chief Financial Officer for the district.
Victoria?
Good evening, Victoria Glaspie. I'm the Director of the Financial Management Office for St. Louis Public.
Great. Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel Seward. I'm a city resident and community leader at MyTech.
Jim? I think you're on mute, Jim.
Hi, I'm Jim Riddle. I'm an architect with Cordian Clark.
Great. And Nick Filer?
Yeah, Nick Feeler, I'm a project director with Navigate Building Solutions, district owner's rep.
Wonderful. Tiffany?
Hi, I'm Tiffany Dawkins with Cordian Clark. I'm an architectural designer.
Chaz is next.
Greetings and salutations to everyone here. Chaz Jaquist with Navigate Building Solutions, primary point of contact for the owner's representative team.
And Corey Bexter-Mueller?
Hi, Corey Bexter-Mueller with Navigate Building Solutions. I'll be working with Nick and Chaz through the Prop S project.
And we have Ms. Toni Cousins. She may have stepped away for a second. Matt Davis.
I'm Matt Davis. I'm Vice President of the Board of Education.
I'm sorry, Toni Cousins, President of the board. I'm actually driving.
No worries. And Jessica. Maybe she stepped away for a second as well. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for introducing yourselves. And I will just pass it over to Mr. Watson to start the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wise. And thanks to all for joining in on this Prop S committee update. Can you start the presentation? Okay, so again, I'm Square Watson, Chief Operations. And do I have rights to Ms. Van Noort to okay, I see. Thank you. Square Watson again, Chief Operations Officer with St. Louis Public Schools. Be joined by our owner's rep, construction management firm Navigate, as well as Cordigan Clark, as you've kind of heard some of the representation within our introduction. Tonight or this evening, we'll just start beginning and discussing some of the current projects that are underway for the Proposition S. As we kind of go through the slides, if there are any questions, I would ask if you could just please put those in the chat box, and afterwards, there'll be an opportunity to ask any questions or provide any feedback after we do our presentation. So in the collaboration, again, with our partners, Navigate, we'll be providing a current update around our Prop S projects. We'll also talk about our what we call the Meet the GC, Meet the General Contractor event that's scheduled actually pretty soon. Then we'll shift it over and turn it over to Cordigan Clark to provide a brief overview of the facility master plan. Then lastly, I will go over with the performance management or the facility renewal service contract approach. and this will address the energy ordinance that was initiated by the city of St. Louis. And lastly, we'll provide an update around any upcoming capital projects, and again, some dates and times to kind of mark your calendar of some future events. So to begin, what you'll see in the upcoming slides and throughout this presentation, again, just to provide updates regarding some of the projects that we're spearheading through Proposition S. They will also include what you kind of see in front of you, as well as some progress photos. The information that is provided is actually provided by our owner's rep, Navigate, this construction management firm, and this information will be provided and uploaded on our website after this meeting. And Navigate provides this information on a monthly basis. So every month you'll see these, what we call these dashboards, and they'll be on our website just for public consumption. These updates are designed to provide transparency. I think that was one of the big things, and that was one of the initial approaches to this work, and also provide the up-to-date information regarding the progression and the status of our project. So what we have in front of us, and we'll start with the fencing project. So just to kind of give you a layout and the format of these dashboards, or in particular to the screen, what you'll see and what we'll start with is the first column to your left. That's the schedule. The schedule begins with what we initially call a notice to proceed. The notice to proceed is once we get board approval. That notice to proceed basically is information, a letter sent to the contractors, more or less just letting them know that they can begin and to order and proceed with work. However, what's not captured, and this is something that we're looking to streamline, are the contracts. So with this particular project in general, the notice to proceed was sent out in July of this year. However, contracts were fully executed in late October. So as we again work to streamline that process, where we'll be able to have both contracts and the notice to proceed, hopefully within on the same date, that's when the work actually begins. Because oftentimes some of the challenges with the notice to proceed and not necessarily having a contract is that some of our contractors, because they have several tiers up under them or several subcontractors up under them, don't necessarily, they want to have some contract so that they can begin and to engage some of their other subcontractors. So in this particular case, contracts were established and executed late October. And so that's when the work more or less kind of began. You'll also see the substantial completion date. The substantial completion date for this particular project, May of 2024, just kind of gives you an idea of when we plan on closing out, or at least being close to completion of this particular project. An added value that this schedule is, it provides a progress update and a 4-week look ahead. The 4-week look ahead just kind of helps us guide our conversation with school leaders. And again, in the sake of transparency, provide that information to our community stakeholders so that they'll know what the next 30 days or the month looks like for all of our projects. And lastly, you'll see any schedule or weather delays that may be caused by either weather or any unforeseen conditions. The middle section is the financing. And as you will see, the first line generally lists the contractor. So in this particular case, CMT is the contractor that is working on our fencing project. And this is also in conjunction with General Waste Services. They're actually doing the removal of our fencing. And then you'll see the contract amount and all of the information related to our contract, where we are with the contract, and any changes, or sometimes what we call change orders that are to date. The next section up under the financing piece is the contingency. Now, contingencies are necessary for all of our construction projects. And generally, the typical range for contingencies range between 5 and 10%. And in this case, we're using a 10% contingency, and generally they are based on the complexity of our projects. Oftentimes in the work that we do, particularly with older facilities, or even in this case, just breaking ground, you run into just issues. You run into, once you open up a wall, you might run into some roadblocks with just whatever's behind the wall. And again, just breaking ground. You just never really know what's under the ground and what's behind those walls. So again, those contingency dollars are generally used and utilized by the district to hopefully kind of expedite projects, so there won't be any delays with the financing. Lastly, that you see in here is the billing, the billing or the invoices, and it's based on the percent complete. So the invoices are reviewed by our construction management firm, Navigate, and then they're submitted to the district for final review and for payment. So on the last column are the hot risk, or any risks associated with the project. This project shows that there are some budget risks with vegetation or removal. So in other words, there may be some tree limbs or shrubs that may be along the fence line that needs to be removed prior to the new installation being installed. Also pre-existing post footings. Again, these are just some of the potential risks that could come about, just to make everyone aware, as well as managing these particular projects. So just to kind of more or less give a lay of the land, make us all aware, so that if anything come down the line, this is when sometimes and oftentimes those contingency dollars can be utilized to address any of these issues or concerns. And lastly, any miscellaneous items that need to be considered will be listed below. Next slide. So here are some of the photos that coincide with what just kind of was mentioned in regards to updates with the fencing project. And this will be the same as we go through the remainder of our project. So you'll see we're currently working at Herzog and Laclede, and as the previous slide kind of indicated, there'll be more work at Columbia, Ashland, and then we have a look ahead that will be provided again on the monthly basis. Next slide. The next project, drinking fountains. And again, I won't necessarily go through each of the columns, but in essence, we're currently at around 22 of the fountains that have been currently replaced, and you'll see the schools that are listed. And then you also see the forecast of those water bottle filling stations that will be installed at the sites indicated below. The contract amount and our contractor, which is Hankins Construction. At this point in time, there have been some changes to this particular contract, and then I'll lean into and defer to Navigate to provide more details if there are any questions regarding any of the proposed changes. Some of the risks at this particular time, just the delivery of the remaining drinking fountains. I think we had on order over 200 drinking fountains. So we got the first initial delivery delivered to St. Louis. However, with an order that big, does require warehousing and storage, and we're anticipating the remaining of the drinking fountains to arrive here soon. Again, under budget risk, what you do see is what was kind of mentioned before, unforeseen existing pipe conditions with older facilities, older infrastructure, the pipes and some of the things, again, when you break open a wall, you just no telling what you get behind the wall. And in this case, when we have to address and deal with old and calcified piping, we have to not only get those remediated, but also get those cleaned and potentially replaced, so that, again, these water bottle filter stations can provide just clean, quality air, and they also have filters within these fountains. Next slide. Now you'll see some more pictures of where the actual water bottle filler stations and what they look like at the corresponding schools. So Nance, Walbridge. And again, the focus for all of these projects and a lot of our projects is to work from north to south. So you see our north side schools, and again, as we continue the project and the look ahead, you'll start to see us get more central and then work on our south side facilities. Next slide. Flooring. This particular contract is by Flooring Systems. We've done work with our Central Visual Performing Arts and Sodan. Currently, the contract are over $1 million. We're doing some wood replacing and repairing some of our vinyl, our VCT flooring, as well as resurfacing and resanding some of our wood floors. Some of the risk or some of the items listed on the hot list are just that subfloor repairs. So once we kind of remove any vinyl or VCT, it's just the deterioration over time of that subfloor. And the same goes with some of our wood floors, because they have been, whether that's the water damage or just over the years of just wear and tear, definitely in need of a facelift. But we definitely have seen some good results in the following slide, where you see some of the pictures of Central VPA as well as Sodan floor. So the floor, particularly with Sodan, this was due to a flood, but the corresponding pictures show the flooring that was installed over Thanksgiving break, in addition to the new cafeteria furniture that was also installed over at Sodan. Next slide. Painting. Currently, we have 3 painting vendors: DNL, Shahid Painting, and MBE WBE painting companies. These companies have currently done a lot of work over the years to really kind of give us a really spruce up of our facilities. You'll see some of the schools that are listed and some of the look ahead of the schools that we anticipate coming down the pipeline, which include Dewey, Mallinckrodt, Peabody, Compton, Drew, and I believe Gateway Complex. We work with our environmental consulting company group with any of our painting projects. So typically what this looks like is our environmental group kind of goes in to really kind of make sure that there are no environmental concerns. They'll do any plaster work or really anything major when it comes to plaster or removing any of peeling paint prior to the painting company or contractor to actually come in. So this is in conjunction with our environmental consultants. As you can see, the board approved item of approximately $3 million. And currently, contractually, we have a little over $2 million for that's basically divvied up between our 3 painting contractors. The next slide, you'll see some of the painting projects. I think one of the one that I'm definitely I've seen in person is Nottingham, as well as Roosevelt. That's the auditorium. Pictures of McKinley, Wilkinson Road, Compton, Drew. And again, these are projects where we're really going in and being really intentional about painting the building as a whole. Again, with the way that a lot of the condition of our facilities, this definitely goes a long way. Some really good wins, and it's always good to see. Particularly, I'm emphasizing Nottingham when the scholars come in, and just to see the improvements and the happiness and the pride that they take once they see a lot of these projects underway. Playgrounds. Playgrounds we're using, and we use the co-op vendor, All Inclusive Construction. All Inclusive is again a playground provider. Several projects, and a lot of them were due to a lot of the repair that was necessary and needed. Again, for our young scholars to go outside and for outdoor activity and outdoor play. As we continue this particular project, I definitely know that some of these contingency dollars will be utilized as we have really began this initial thrust with repairing some of our playground equipment. We seem to get more visibility and more concerns regarding whether it's slides or just holes within what we call the play surface, and that's that fall protection piece. So as they run and play, and anyone who should slip or just in the act of playing and fall, they at least be protected from having their knees scraped on the ground floor. Some of the potential items that we need to consider are, of course, weather. Oftentimes around this time of the year, we have to somewhat delay any potential, particularly with the play surface, because there's concrete involved. So we'll rev up this particular project once the weather starts to get a little bit warmer. So we'll be able to again continue those play surfaces, do some patch and some repair work on our playscapes and our slides. And again, a list will be provided in regards to some of the playgrounds. So here you see some of the playgrounds that have actually been repaired. There were 2 playgrounds and playscapes at Adams. You see Ames. We're looking to install new playgrounds at Walbridge, Madison, and Sticks. They will receive new playground equipment. And I believe we just completed Nance at the earlier part of this year. Nottingham, I just kind of talked and just briefly discussed with Nottingham around the painting. But this is another project with Nottingham in mind, the culinary classroom. So Nottingham has a program where they actually have a culinary arts piece program within the component of the school, where the students go into the culinary arts classroom and actually do real life cooking and get themselves set up for future work in the restaurant or the food industry. This project actually began at the earlier part of November. I actually was over there yesterday to see that the project is practically substantially completed. As you see, some of the budgetary piece, the vendor for this particular project was Ford Hotel and Supply Company. Sorry, there was a misprint there. And now we're in the process of basically closing out this particular project, doing a checklist or a final punch list, and then any warranty information will be provided. And again, you see some of the risk includes some of the existing piping conditions. In the next slide, you'll see some of the work, some of the demolition, and just a real progress photos of the work that was entailed over in the Nottingham Culinary Kitchen. You can go to the next slide. So again, you see some of the photos of the demolition in the first left picture. Once the demolition was complete, the contractor going in, and then the following 2 slides on the bottom show some of the installation, and the last one, which was just taken as of yesterday, shows the improvement of what we had before and what the space looks like now. And again, once the scholars go into that space, just to see the expression on their faces, to have an up-to-date kitchen and culinary space definitely goes a long way. In addition to this space, we also added a laundry area, a laundry room, so that, again, just to kind of address the needs of that particular facility, definitely goes a long way to support the school and their function. The last project that we're going to provide an update on is with our HVAC systems. We currently have a contract with TMI. A lot of roofing projects that have gone underway. They include those listed to the left there, and the look ahead of some of the potential projects there that are still and currently actively going in progress. So you see the dollar amount. Again, at this point of the time, we're not necessarily doing a lot of exterior work, but we're now inside looking at some of our boilers, but we're planning ahead and looking at what we need to do to be prepared for when we turn on our air conditioning, which is April 15th. So just as a rule of thumb, and that's just a general standard across the district, we turn on our heating on October the 15th, and our air conditioning systems are turned on April 15th. In the next corresponding slide, you will see the projects at Gateway STEM, where Gateway STEM which had no air conditioning at all within that facility. So the cafeteria, and we're working through Cordigan Clark to provide some type of relief on the locker room side, the gymnasium side of Gateway STEM. And of course, you see the last slide, the last picture of Bertha Gilkey. And again, they also come with some security screens, and that's to deter any vandalism that could potentially be done to our systems. Slide. So this next particular slide is what we call Meet the GC event that we're looking forward to hosting next Friday at Carr Lane. Flyers will be on our website, and we're working through our public affairs and our communications department team to disseminate this information to all and any organization and stakeholders that have an interest in working with the district. We have plans on meeting with other groups and organizations throughout the city, such as the Ecumenical Leadership Council, the Urban League, Better Family Life, SLDC, to name a few. Even tomorrow, we have a clergy meeting led by Mr. Rynell Jackson, and this information will also be provided to the clergy for them to potentially provide to anyone, again, that's interested in working with the district. This Meet the GC is just the first of several others. We plan on having multiple, what I'm calling town hall meetings, or again, these Meet the GC events, again, just to kind of let contractors, small businesses know how to basically do business with the district. We'll provide information regarding how to more or less kind of get registered with the district through a platform which we just initiated this year called Bonfire. And again, there'll be steps and information just to provide real live, up-to-date information on some of the projects, in which you'll see with the last slides on some of the future projects that we'll be coordinating and conducting throughout the district. So at this point in time, I will turn it over to Corrigan Clark just to provide a brief overview of the facility master plan that was actually presented in a previous committee meeting. But this will be led by Mr. Jim Riddle and Ms. Tiffany Hawkins with Corrigan Clark. So I will pass it over to Corrigan Clark at this time.
Hello. So Corrigan Clark has started with our facility condition assessment, sort of working with our partners to complete our FCA. So that assessment essentially will gather the existing conditions of each facility within the district, and also provide projections for the life cycle and maintenance for each building. So what that process looks like is first starting off with our pilot program, which we have Freyville Elementary and Carr Lane. So to assess those buildings, we have we're working with Bureau Veritas as our partners, as our assessors. So it's a 2-person team who has the capacity to cover about 30,000 square feet each day per person, where they will do an overview of the building, gathering those existing conditions, sort of just documenting, looking at each piece with our scope, looking at the exterior, interior, and ADA compliance of each building. And then they will create a document for each facility. So within that pilot program, each school will get, at this moment, we've seen about over a 90-page draft report that includes those existing conditions, that qualifies different units with unit costs from the building, total cost, the age of units with their remaining lifespan as well. And what that report provides is a projection of replacement costs to accurately outline building costs. So after all those things are created, then the district will get an opportunity to review that document, everything that has been sort of captured in each building. They'll be able to review that process and determine if they would like to go about things in a different way. Are there things that were captured in that document that they would like to change, take out, new things to put in? And then after that our pilot program is sort of complete, then our assessors will go in to capture the other 70 buildings, open facilities within the district. Next slide, please. So Corrigan Clark has done a big effort of just trying to create an inventory of all the facilities within the district. We've prioritized with all of the open schools, sort of worked back and forth with the district just to understand how many And we've created a running document of all facilities. So this is just an example of some booklets and documents that we created, which we sort of just gather some of the necessary information to identify each building within the district. We've handed it off to our facility condition assessment team, and this is how, that team, Cordy and Clark, the district will sort of look at all the buildings within the all the buildings within the district, just to wrap our heads around it. Next, please. Jim?
Actually, if you don't mind, step back one. What's powerful about this project is the district now has 3 books that show every pictures and plans of every single open building in the district. And the plans that we show square footage, we show site square footage. This is a very special resource that the district now has as an opportunity to begin to wrap our collective heads around the entire built environment that supports all of the scholars in the city. Next slide, please. This is an example of one of the 90+ pages of the document that our team has built. And the concept is that we walk every square foot of the building and the site and look at individual items. And in this case, it's exterior doors. And you can see the effective age of this door is 25 years. Its expected useful life is 30 years. So essentially we're saying 5 years from now, you're going to need to replace this door. Next slide, please. Vinyl tile. Replaced throughout the whole building is the assessor's assessment, saying that the condition is poor. You can see here, the assessor came through in 2023, literally last week, saying effective age is 14 years, expected useful life is 15. So, it's saying it's getting to be urgent at Frable to begin to replace the vinyl tile. Next slide, please. So our assessors provide a summary page or 2 or 3, depending on the size of the school and the amount of things, that take each of those individual pages. We're not showing them, but essentially each of those 2 pages looks something like this. And lifespan, and then how much longer, and then in this particular, for wall finishes, ceramic tile, it's going to last another 13 years. And we do that for every single component of the building, and build a assessment score, and then essentially say when build a year by year. This is how much you probably need to spend in 2023. This is how much you need to spend in 2024. This is how much you need to spend in 2025 to update the building. So it's a very comprehensive review of the district's buildings that will give the district leadership all of the information that they need to make good decisions moving forward to support all of the scholarship that is happening in your schools. Next slide.
Thank you for that, Cordy and Clark team. And this was just what they just more or less kind of previewed or alluded to was just one component of the facility master planning. There's other other, and I think we may mention to this in the last presentation, such as demographic information. We'll be looking at projected and potential development areas. And all of this will be somewhat kind of calculated and combined to provide a facility condition index score. But it'll have some of those factors. And again, that was just one component of several other factors and indicators for this facility master plan.
If you'd like me to expand on that, I'm happy to do that.
With the facility?
To head towards a master plan, our next steps are we've engaged a demographer who has started with your September numbers and has begun his efforts, and that will continue. Our next steps for the facility condition assessment which is the second component of the master plan, as Tiffany noted, is to walk every square foot and every field, every acre that the district is being a steward of, and have that assessment. And that will happen likely over the next 4 months, just given the sheer amount of square footage that the district is in stewardship of. The demographer is Preston Smith with Business Information Services in Kansas City, a very solid and talented demographer. So those are the facilities condition assessment and the index that Mr. Watson noted will create a foundation for us to look at how to help the district provide the best facilities for their scholars. And I think that's the final step, Chief Watson.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. And I think to that point, as we transition into this other piece of providing some of the best facilities within for our scholars, is this performance management piece. So the board just recently approved the district on one of the first steps of what we call the request for qualifications or RFQ process with this energy performance company. The recommendation that was provided to the board is to work with Trane and Ameresco. And again, this is to assist the district in optimizing energy efficient projects, which will ultimately help reduce energy costs and be able to provide sustainable practices for all of our schools. Some of the duties of the performance management companies just generally consist of performing energy audits and assessments, which again will help to identify areas of improvement so that we can become more energy efficient. By developing these energy efficient plans and implementing these energy conservation measures through some forms of project management and training. So these energy companies actually provide the project management and what we call a turnkey approach, more or less just basically means that we will be providing these companies with some schools that they will go in and assess. They will provide us with some recommendations, and then at the same time be able to do the implementation and the management and see all of these projects from beginning to end, including the training of our staff. One of the other biggest added values to this potential performance management piece is providing potential financing to fund these type of energy projects through energy savings. So with the overall goal to reduce the operating expenses, this will ultimately provide a healthier and a more sustainable and comfortable atmosphere for all of our scholars. So this slide and the next slide, what you more or less see are the data points that more or less kind of show what we call when you see the acronym BEPS, it's kind of written, it's small, but it's the fourth column. the BEPS stands for Building Energy Performance Standards. And this is more or less the standard that, in particular to the city of St. Louis, that they provided through the energy ordinance. Some of the improvements generally that surround this building energy performance standard includes heating, cooling, lighting, insulation, ventilation, and just really kind of give an overall energy consumption rate or number. The city of St. Louis by 2025 with this particular energy ordinance pertains or is required by any building that has over 50,000 square feet are required to comply with this energy ordinance. And if any facility or building that does not comply by 2025 could potentially result in some fines if they don't show any continuous improvement or at least a plan to address the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions and or anything to promote any sustainability when it comes to energy efficiency. So basically what you see in front of us are what they call the EIU, which is the second column, EIU, which stands for the energy utilization improvement piece. And that's kind of currently where we are. So you see 2021 results and you see 2022, which is the third column. This to kind of show you where we were in 2021. And when we report this information to the city through their dashboard, what we look like in 2022. In the fourth column, you see the target. So that's our goal. And then of course that fifth column more or less kind of lets us know whether or not we're on track. So currently we have approximately 19 to 20 facilities that are not on track. So you see the fifth column through the improvements, whether we gained or lost over those previous 2 years, 2021 and 2022. And then you'll see some of the improvements that we've done thus far with these particular schools. And then you'll see some recommendations that more or less kind of will address some of the heating and cooling that will likely kind of get us close to, if not meeting our mark or our target by 2025. So the city of St. Louis, again, through this, and I'm sorry, the EIU stands for energy use intensity. But by 2025, they will again give us a report and we get this type of benchmark or these check-ins on a quarterly basis. I think the next submittal is due by May of 2024. And at that point in time, we will receive a report to let us know where we are in compliance with our targets. So the goal again is to provide continuous improvements through this building energy performance. And again, if we don't meet these particular targets, we either have to have a plan or there will be some type of fines to make sure that we're on track to comply with this particular energy ordinance. So these last few slides speak to some of the upcoming projects with timelines, anticipated timelines. Some of the items, as you kind of see listed, include some of the school enhancement or improvement projects, such as restroom upgrades, painting, whiteboard installation. And then you also see some of the safety projects, such as replacing stair treads, exterior doors, and door alarms, as well as some other projects that we're doing to address our windows. We will be real intentional on improving our schools and with these projects, and there will be more forthcoming coming out. And this is again in conjunction and collaboration with both of our architectural firms, which is Cordigan Clark and Grice Trivers, as well as working with Navigate, that's really kind of fine tuning our scope of work for each of these projects. So again, so we'll be able to get those pushed out with those anticipated timelines so that we can begin work at the start of the end of school and work that'll continue throughout the summer. Now, this last slide talks, just kind of gives an overview of what the next potential dates, so mark your calendar for our next Prop S Oversight Committee meetings. March 14th will be our next meeting, and it'll likely be in person on site. Just tentatively, I had in mind like Gateway STEM, but we'll determine the location depending on what the school activities and functions are going on at that point in time. But just to have an in-person meeting, and it'll likely be hybrid for those that can't necessarily make it in person, but get the opportunity to actually see some of the work that's being conducted at the space. And then you'll see the corresponding dates that will be conducted for the remainder of 2024. The times will be similar to right now. It'll be from 6 to 7 p.m. And again, the location, or whether it be virtual, will definitely be provided in a timely manner. So at this point in time, this more or less concludes our presentation, and then we will open it up for any questions or feedback regarding what you heard and any updates pertaining to our Prop S projects.
Hey, Mr. Watson, this is Matt Davis. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
I just had a follow-up question about the demographer. So the gentleman's name is Preston Smith, and it's Business Information Services out of Jackson County. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you Googled this gentleman?
I have not.
I would commend you to an article from February 2nd, 2022 in the Kansas City Star. I'll just leave it at that. I do want to, though, add to Mr. Watson, we may need to revisit our contracts, and so any subcontractors are going to need Board of Education approval.
Understood.
Excuse me, you said Campus of East Star?
The Kansas City Star.
Kansas City Star.
Kansas City Star. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Watson, Mr. Clemens has his hand up.
Yes, sir, Mr. Clemens.
Mr. Watson, thank you for the invite to be part of the committee. Appreciate it. I served as treasurer of the campaign, and so I'm starting to get some requests from building trades and other folks. Just my good name is on there as treasurer. I want to work with you to figure out how we can keep this project moving on and do all the best practices we can. Thank you for taking my question.
Thank you, Mr. Clemens, for that feedback. Are there any other questions? I'm looking in the chat to see if there's any comments in the chat. Let's see.
Mr. Watson, I have a question, and then I can close this out too. But this information about the school building, the Corrigan Clark master plan stuff, and the books or the pamphlets, is that accessible for the public, or for the committee to look at it and be able to say, here's what we know to the public? Is there a status on that?
So I just received the draft of what was somewhat provided today. That's something I'll definitely share with Dr. Scarlett, and then we'll hopefully be able to sit down with the board so you can kind of get a preview of because I ultimately want not only the board and Dr. Scarlett to more or less bless this particular document before we proceed and move forward with the other facility. So I literally just got in hand a copy of it today. Again, it's just kind of, it's definitely in draft version and draft form, but that is something that I'll share with Dr. Scarlett, and we'll provide a date and time when we can share with the board so you can get an idea before, again, moving forward with the remainder of our facilities.
Okay, thank you.
I think another part of that question was the access to the books that have pictures and plans. So Chief, please share that with the superintendent as well, please.
Will do. Will do. Thank you for that one, Chief. I guess if there's no other questions, again, we thank you for your time this evening, and I will turn it over to Board Members Hubbard and Ms. Wise for final remarks and conclude this Oversight Committee meeting. Thank you all for your time.
I would just like to say thank you all for coming and listening and providing oversight. You know, taxpayer money is a big responsibility, and we do want to make sure that we're doing our very best to steward those dollars well. So thank you all. And now I'm going to watch the rest of Shrek at McKinley. Thanks so much.